Hi, this is Carissa Caramanis O'Brien coming to you from the National EMS Culture of Safety Strategy Conference in Arlington, Virginia. And I'm here with Glenn Luedtke from the National Association of Emergency Medical Technicians. Welcome, Glenn.
Thank you. Thanks for asking me to come.
Of course. So tell me a little bit about your experience. I know that you're on the steering committee for this very worthy project. Tell me a little bit about that role.
Well, I'm here representing the National Association of EMTs, which is made up of EMS providers from across the country. So we have a major stake in this thing. Being a member of the steering committee is particularly exciting because we sort of establish what the agenda is and look at those areas where we really need to focus and hopefully to provide a safer atmosphere for our folks to work in. That's sort of the whole point.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So has anything sort of stuck out for you as a key learning or an opportunity this morning?
Yeah, what's really been interesting is we can talk, and have talked at length about safety issues, individual safety issues, but we've really not talked before about changing a culture, and doing a cultural change is a whole different breed of cat. It's really involved in, we're ingrained, we've been at this for a long time, and we're ingrained in the way that we do things. So we're talking about getting people to change the way that they think about safety. First of all, getting people to think about safety. And when you look at EMS providers, emergency service providers have one thing in common. We're about the person that we're serving. In our case, we're about that patient. And that's where our focus has always been. And that's a good thing, but to the extent that it takes focus away from our own safety, it's not necessarily a good thing. And that's what we're trying to change, and what we're learning today is from some people outside of the industry whose education and whose focus is on cultural change, no matter what the setting. So it's good as background, since we're going to be trying to make this change happen, to figure out good ways to, how we can be successful at this.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's encouraging to see that there's as much of a focus on safety for the patients as there is for the provider themselves, which I would imagine NAEMT is happy to see as well.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, again, it's about the patient first and foremost, and recognizing that there are some issues that we need to look at, the way that we do things. And there are some changes that we need to make that are relatively simple changes when you look at them, but it's just a matter of thinking about the whole area of safety. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we did over the past year, actually over the past 2 years, we developed a safety course for pre-hospital providers that we rolled out in March at the EMS Today conference, and that we're now teaching across the country. Mm-hmm. And by and large, the reaction that we get from people who attend the class is, gee, I never thought of that. And we'll bring up a topic or an area where people can get hurt and a way around that. And it's just that we don't think in those terms. We're like, boy, I never thought that could happen. Mm-hmm. But you're right, that could happen. I'll have to change this. Mm-hmm. So that that's a part of creating that change is just raising the awareness, getting people to think about safety and to think about their own safety at the same time thinking about the patient's safety and providing the proper treatment. It's a lot going on all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So we've got a number of really smart leaders in these rooms this week, but what is it that the EMT or paramedic that's watching this can sort of take from this and understand, what is it I can do tomorrow to start changing that culture, whether it be in, my system, my department, or, what can they do?
Yeah, it's a matter, as I said before, it's a matter of being aware. Now, hopefully by doing this, by some of the other things that are going on, practitioners, people who work in the field, are starting to become more aware that safety is indeed an issue for them. And they can start looking at these things and reading the literature and looking at what's online and the new things that are coming out, because there's something new every day. There is change in the wind, and what we're doing here is a part of it. One of the advantages of being at this thing is that there are so many different disciplines here, that there are people here representing every possible discipline, including those outside of the medical realm who just deal with cultural change. And taking all of that input, I think we stand a good chance of being successful with this. It's going to take time. It took us time to get where we are, and it's going to take time to change that culture. Mm-hmm. But individuals can start doing that just by thinking about it and talking with their peers about it. Hey, I read this thing the other day about back injuries and how some ways that we can avoid them. When we lifted that patient yesterday, we didn't do such a good job. How could we have changed that? And just talking about stuff like that. I think that's one way that we get the ball rolling.
And what role, does industry have in this? What about the manufacturers in helping you guys along in really achieving these goals?
Well, there's a lot that can be done there. Certainly with ambulance design, we're looking now at changes in ambulance design to make them safer. NFPA is working on that. A number of other organizations, the EMS Safety Foundation is doing a lot of research on that, and and coming up with some first of all, some danger areas in the back. The back of an ambulance is not a terribly safe place to be, as anybody who's ever been in the back of one knows. There are some things we can do to make them safer. Some of those things are starting to happen. Hopefully, along the way, more of those things will start to happen. At the same time, patient handling equipment, patient carrying equipment is changing and needs to change. We need to recognize that some of the tools that we've used haven't been, the safest way to do what it is that we're trying to do with them. The simple act of moving a patient from an ambulance stretcher over to a hospital bed can put a real strain on your back. Well, there are some tools out there now that help you do that more safely. And we need the manufacturers need to get innovative and start thinking about these things. And we need to, on the management side, need to think about, okay, where do we get the money to purchase these things? Because in today's economy, that's a key consideration. But how many back injuries will I prevent if I buy this piece of equipment? How much money will I save on workers' comp if I don't have those claims anymore? So, industry hopefully will partner with us in doing these things, and in many cases they are. We're talking with a lot of the manufacturers about about things that they can do, and they're starting to make some of those changes.
Very good. Well, it's clearly a collaborative effort among all the agencies involved, so we thank you for your time.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
And again, this is Carissa Caramanis O'Brien coming to you from the National EMS Culture of Safety Strategy Conference in Arlington, Virginia.